What's up YouTube, and welcome to another draw along with me, where today we're going to create this really cool nightlife poster design. As always, there's links to everything in the description down below you're going to need in the requirements section. Not only do I post weekly tutorials here on YouTube, but I also post 3 more every single month over on my Patreon, exclusive to Patreon supporters. There's a link in the description down below if you want to come and show your support over there. And throughout the video, I apologize if my voice is a little bit croaky. I've just got back from a long weekend, so enjoy the video. Be sure to share your designs with me at the end, and thank you so much for watching. So once you have your canvas size, we're just going to go ahead, and I've gone ahead and swiped up from the bottom here and grabbed Chrome and popped it just here as a little overlay with all 3 of the links open that we're going to need for today's design. And the first one you're going to need is this lovely photo here in this nightscape of this subject here. And we're going to simply go ahead and hold our finger down on the image and drag and drop it onto the screen. And then we can keep Chrome open by just moving it off to the side, grabbing these 3 dots at the top and push it just out of frame. Now if we go ahead and pinch out from around the outside of our canvas so we can go ahead and see the whole thing, we're going to need to scale this up in size, and we need to get rid of a few bits of the design. So we're going to keep scaling it up, and I'll give you the final size in a moment, but we're trying to get just a little bit of this concrete here just showing from the little ledge that this subject is leaning on, and we want to bring in a little bit more of the lights there. So I'm just going to bring this down in size just a little bit more until our subject's roughly taking up about sort of 2/3 of the screen. So I'm going to tap on the node here in the top right, and it's 2458 by 3684. And once you've positioned it roughly like this, you can go ahead and see what's in frame and try and align yours the same way. We're going to tap on our cursor, which will then eventually crop around the outside. Now what we need to do is isolate our subject so we can put some stuff in behind her and she sit right at the very top. So we're going to go to our layers. I'm going to swipe the layer to the left and duplicate it. For a moment, we're going to turn off the bottom layer, and we're going to change our background color. We're going to pick something that we can visually see against the rest of the image. So we're going to go ahead and change our color to red and just drag it to any red, it doesn't really matter, and hit done. And then that will allow us, when we tap on the layer and add a mask, we can hide around our subject and we can visually see the clear color underneath. So we need our color here in the top right to be set to black, so we double tap at the bottom of the disk if it isn't already set to black. And we need to change our brush to the monoline brush under calligraphy. Your size can be any size you wish. You may have to sort of jump up and down to get into smaller areas in terms of size. And if we go back to the layer and we make sure we're on the mask at the top, what we now paint in black is going to hide, and if you were to paint it back in with white, it would reveal. So for example, if I start to just draw around this bottom edge here, we can see there that the red is showing through and it's showing the color underneath. And what we need to do is we need to go all the way around our subject, cutting her out nicely with a nice clean cut. So this is a really good practice first of all with masking. And so we're just going to just draw all the way around. And as I said, if you were to make a mistake and I went into here, for example, it's no problem. You can either obviously undo that, but if you want to, you can double tap in the top left hand corner to select white and draw that back in like so, and then switch your color back to black, and you've not got rid of any of the actual information of the photograph. So let's go ahead now and just whiz all the way around the outside of our subject. Now when you get to bits like hair, we don't have to be too precise. You can cut that completely off, or we can just go around the outside like this. And then when there's a little gap such as here, as I mentioned, just drop your pen down in size to the smallest it can go and create a nice little rough cut on the inside here, keeping as much of that hair detail as possible. You can maybe even change your brush to an even smaller one. Maybe the script will go small enough and we can just erase into this little gap here. So script there is in the option of calligraphy. So I'm going to switch it back to the monoline brush, go back to my 12%, and I'm just going to continue to make my way all the way around our subject. So here we don't really care for all the stray hairs. We can tidy that up nicely, so we can go ahead and go around the shoulder here, creating a nice cutout, keeping all of our lines super nice and tidy. So here I'm not interested again in all the stray loose hairs. It's not something we need for today's little poster design. And we're going to run all the way around the top. Now here we will keep some of the strays as they do sort of round off the shape of our head a little bit. So we can, for example, just sort of go around the outside like here. And then here we've got some more at the top where we can just go around the top here and then carry on, and then eliminate any strays from this point. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to follow that line there. We can leave that as is for a second, because this cutout is mainly used so we can again just put items in front, but also in behind her as well, so things can nicely just slot into the design without ruining the original photograph. So I'm going to come around the edge here, so just making our way all the way around. This is a great little practice for sort of cutting out an item from a background. This is also part of a tutorial that I've done before. And we can just go around this little bit of the block that she sat on. Go down into here. You want to sort of eliminate this white edge a little bit, like so. And then go around the bottom. Then when you get to the end, you just want to make sure you run off the edge of the canvas, because you started off of the edge of the canvas. And if you created a perfect loop, you'll just need to go ahead and drag black into the outer area, like so. And that will get rid of everything around the outside. And then again, here we can then go ahead and make any adjustments if we feel necessary. So I'm just going to eliminate this little gap here and just get a little bit tighter to the hair here. But other than that, we're happy with that cutout as is. She can now nicely sit off of our background. So what we now need to do is we need to go to our layers and turn on the extra layer of the photo at the bottom. So now it doesn't look like any change has been made, but we've done a lot of the groundwork. Let's add some color now into the background. So above our little background layer here that we just turned on, we're going to create a new layer above it. We're going to go to our colors and double tap at the bottom of the disk to select black. We're going to go ahead and go to our selection tool. We're going to go to the rectangle option and we're going to go to color fill and turn that on so that we can draw a rectangle here at the bottom of the screen and let go. Then tap on your selection tool when you're done, and now we can go to adjustments, Gaussian Blur, blur from left to right, and we can add in a really cool little shadow here towards the bottom. And look how much that already makes her sort of stand off from the background. So I've blurred mine there to 65%. Tap on your selection tool when you're done. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to our layers and create another new layer. We're going to go to the colors, and there's only one color here. I'll pop it on the screen now so you can grab the exact same hex code. And to add in a hex code, just simply go to value, and then in this cell here, you can type in the code. Once you've done that, you're going to grab that color. We're going to do exactly the same. We're going to go to our selection tool again. We've still got rectangle and color fill turned on, and we're going to draw a box at the top of the screen like so, and let go. And then tap on your selection tool when you're done. Go to your adjustments, Gaussian Blur, and swipe from left to right again, adding in a really cool nice blue hue. And I'm going to take it up to about 65%, exactly the same as we did before. And then tap on your selection tool when you're done. If we go back to our layer now and change it from normal, and we scroll down through some of the layer effects, you'll get different lighting effects, but we want to go down to hard light. This will nicely sort of transition it into the background area and bring through a little bit of that detail of the sky there, or the nightscape. We can though, if we want to, grab our cursor and use the freeform option, and you may want to just drag that down just to drag in a little bit more blue, or you can keep it quite small at the top. I'm going to drag mine just down a little bit more, again just to drop some color in behind our subject. So you can see the size I've gone to there using the freeform tool. Tap on your cursor when you're done. Let's add in some background fragmentation. So we're going to go to our layers now, and the next layer we're going to add in is going to be the little lens flares. So if we go to the tabs here I've opened, we're going to go to this free pick image here. And if I hold down on my image again and we drag and drop it onto the screen like so, we can swipe out Chrome and we can go ahead and adjust this image to the size that we need. So we're going to scale it up using the uniform option. And this is going to bring in some really cool sort of flares from the top corner there. And we want to make this quite nice and big because we want these two main areas of color here just to sit quite close to our subject. So something roughly like this, and the size for it is 3218 by 2145. Now you will be saying at this point, if we tap on our cursor, obviously we've got a lot of background content there in the image, and this is what you can use a lot of your layer blend modes for. Because if we scroll down through some of the different layer effects, for example something like screen as an example for the moment, we'll get rid of the dark area of an image and leave the rest of the content. So essentially you've kind of got rid of the background without actually having to do anything. But what I'm going to do is we're going to keep scrolling through because there's another one we can use, which is color dodge, which I prefer the look of because we get these more vibrant colors sitting in the background. And this almost looks like it comes from a lamppost on the side. Now you may notice ever so slightly there is a line that runs across the screen, and that's the bottom of the image. And all you need to do is just go to your eraser, tap on your eraser and change it to airbrushing and a soft brush. And we'll just sort of feather that out. So my brush size can be something small, about 14%, and just run along that line backwards and forwards, blending it out up to the rest of the image above. Let's add in some more texture. So again, using the same principles that we can drag in an image and take away some of its information, such as dark areas or light areas, we can add in a set of texture now. So where we are currently is fine in our layers. Let's bring in the final image for today. So if we go to our tabs, we have this layer here, which is called Shabby Cement. And it's got a lot of nice white detailing in here. So if we hold down on the image yet again and we drag and drop it onto the screen, we can actually swipe up and close Chrome now, get rid of that. And then we can go ahead and scale this image up to a good size. So let's scale this up till it fits in that background area over here. And we've got all this white data, that's what's going to be kept. So if we make it roughly this sort of size, so about 2182 by 3274, and we tap on our cursor when we're done. Let's go ahead and add in a blend mode to get rid of the darker areas. So again, let's go to the layer, tap on the N and scroll down, and we're going to use screen on this occasion. And if we take a look at it, we've now got this really cool sort of concrete effect. Now there are tons of different images you can use for a design like this. For example, there's quite common ones such as smoke, where they'll have a black background and the smoke will of course be white. Using screen again, you would just isolate the white areas of smoke. But images can work vice versa. You can use different layer effects. So be sure to go ahead and try and use some different effects in future designs that you may create. Next, let's go ahead and add in a border. So we're going to go to our layers now. We're going to go ahead and create a new layer. We're going to go to our colors. We're going to go to the disk and we're going to double tap in the top left hand corner to select white. And we're going to drag and drop that onto the screen for a moment. What we're then going to do is we're going to create another new layer that we're going to chop away from this white layer to give us a nice rounded border. So I'm going to swipe this layer to the left and duplicate it, the white block. Tap on the layer and invert it. And then we're going to grab our cursor and make sure you're using the uniform option. Just scale this down a little bit in size and then push it back into the center, hitting both those orange lines, letting you know you're both vertically and horizontal in the center of the image. And to do that, just turn on snapping here in the corner. Then what you can do is if you tap on your layer for the black one, once you've created a nice little white surround, tap on the black layer and use the option of select. So you've now selected that shape. However, you need to turn off color fill. So now we've just selected the black area. We're going to delete it from the white layer. So we just go down to the white layer, tap on it and use the option of clear. And then you can just simply delete the black block that we made above, swipe it to the left and delete it. And now your image has a border around the outside, but let's just bring that in a tiny bit. Let's grab our cursor and using the uniform option, just go ahead and bring in the top right node a little bit. And again, position that smack bang in the center. And you'll just bring it off the edges and give yourself a nice border. And this is the exact reason why we cut our subject out. The border now nicely runs in behind, so our subject sits on top of our border. So you can actually maybe make that a little bit smaller again, just to really emphasize that effect. And tap on your cursor when you're done, and your border now nicely sits in behind our subject and nicely frames the whole design. How cool does that look? Right, let's get into the text part of the tutorial. So let's go to our layers. Let's go ahead and create a new layer. With white still selected, we're going to go up to our actions and we're going to go to the option of add, and we're going to add some text. You'll get just a basic bit of text to start with, but if we double tap on the text and let's change the font. So let's tap on Inya 01 and we're going to go ahead and scroll down to the font that I've put in the description down below. You can use any font you like, but this one looks pretty cool with this effect, and that's Nor C. So we're going to select that one there. Let's go ahead and change the text. So we're going to go to the keyboard just here. And we're going to change it to the correct text. So we're going to type in night and then enter, and we're going to enter life, so nightlife. Let's go ahead first of all and make that a little bit bigger. So we can double tap on all the text. If we tap on say regular again, we'll get this option here for the design items, and we can make it a little bit bigger. So we can make it up to a size such as 114 should do the trick. And you can tap on this little pill here and type that in. And then we're going to go ahead and bring them just a little bit closer together in their line height. So we're just going to bring this slider down a little bit until we get to about -30, just around that point there. And hit done when you're done. Now if we grab our cursor and we move this down, we can obviously see that a lot of the design is lost in behind our subject. And we want to hit that orange line in the center as always. And then tap on your cursor when you're done. But we want to go ahead, and because we can put stuff in behind and in front, let's go ahead and do exactly that. So let's go to the layer and swipe it to the left and duplicate it, the text. Let's tap on the layer and edit the text. If we simply just double tap on it, go to the option of regular here, and we use this option here, the outline option, and hit done, we've now outlined our text, meaning if we go to the layer for that, the outline, and drag that above our subject here and the mask for it, we can then see, if I tap away, that the outline, really awesome, sits on top of our subject, but the inside is now filled with our subject rather than the white areas. And what's really cool is if we go up to the layer and we select night and night here, the two different layers for it, and grab our cursor, everywhere we move it, our subject is nicely inside the text, and it creates this really cool effect. And you can, if you want to, maybe scale this up in size, make it a little bit bigger, so you get a little bit of that gap on the left hand side of the life there. And I'm going to leave it just there, so tap in on my cursor when I'm done. So now let's go ahead and actually add in a shadow on our subject here, just to help it stand off inside the text. So we can go to the layer for our subject here at the top, swipe it to the left and duplicate it. And then you'll get another one, and we want this bottom one here, and we want to go ahead and pinch the mask to the layer. So just pinch the mask to the layer and you'll see your subject is cut out. If we go to our colors and double tap at the bottom of the disk to select black, and go back to the layer, tap on it and use the option of alpha lock, which just prevents us from spilling out onto the side. If we tap on the layer and fill it, it now only stays within the shape of that subject, and then tap on the layer and turn off the alpha lock because we're done with that. And then we can tap on the layer and clipping mask it down onto the white text down below. Meaning if we now go to our adjustments and Gaussian Blur and blur this layer, swiping it from left to right, you'll see a little shadow just step in from behind our subject. And if you go up to something about sort of 10 to 15%, tap on your adjustments when you're done, your subject now nicely stands off inside. How cool does that look? We've got a really cool sort of 3D look to it. Let's also add a shadow in behind the text. So we can go to our layers. This bottom night layer here, we can swipe it to the left and duplicate it. The bottom one out the two, if we just tap on it and use the option of rasterize, it's currently white, and if we tap on it and invert it from white to black, which flips it in its opposite color, so you would change it from color to color if it was in color, but when it's black and white, flicks it between the two. We can then go to our adjustments, Gaussian Blur, swipe from left to right again, and if we go up to something around about sort of 16 to 17%, or even higher if you want to, that just adds in a nice little shadow there in the background, just helping the text stand off a little bit more. If you want to, you could even swipe that layer to the left and duplicate it again, just to really emphasize that shadow in the background. And what we can also do is, as a final touch, is this outline layer right at the top, the nightlife outline layer at the top, swipe it to the left and duplicate it. The bottom one out the two, just simply go ahead now and just drag it down underneath our subject here, but in front of our shadow. If it clips, no problem, just tap on it and unclip it. So tap on it and unclip, so it should just be underneath our subject here. Change the layer effect from normal, change it to overlay. And then grab your cursor and we can just drag this up to the top area of the design. Scale this up in size just to give some sort of background cool graphics. So something a little bit like that. So I've gone pretty large with my one there. The final dimensions are 2453 by 1613. And we can go to the layer and just lower its opacity down, just so it's a little bit more faint in the background. So we can tap on O for overlay, lower the opacity down, and you can drop it down to say 40%, and that will give you a nice background graphic that doesn't take away from your subject too much. And if you pinch with 2 fingers, go full screen with 4, you end up with today's finished design. So I hope you enjoyed this poster design. As always, be sure to share your designs with me on Instagram and see what photos you can use of yourself and see if you can make a really cool poster with something that you've maybe taken. And if you didn't already know, I post weekly tutorials here on YouTube, but I also post 3 more exclusive tutorials to patrons over on Patreon. If you want to get your name featured in videos, sneak peeks of upcoming designs, early access and much more, there's a link in the description down below if you want to come and show your support. And today's equipment list is the Doudrot glove and the Sketchboard Pro that you can always use code JoelCreate to get yourself a nice 10% off, and also the Doudrot screen cover, which also I'll leave a link to in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.